luckily we had some grooves already on both sides. So we got like a knife in there, like a butter knife, or it was like a flat iron or flat, what are they called? Screwdriver, a flathead. And we put it in there and just twisted to have it kind of like, like pop open. And then we pried it open. And when I took that cast off, I'm telling you, I was horrified. The most, like his foot looked deformed. The most nasty blister I had ever seen. I can't even explain it, but on his big toe was just fresh, raw skin. And it had been like that for a week. And you can tell that it had chafed so much and so bad and had rubbed and scratched, and just this new flesh had been just like, it was like ground meat, ground beef kind of, where it's just been shredded. And it was like a big bubble, like a burn, like when you get a big burn and it blisters and then rips off, and then it's just this red raw skin. But I was like, and then it was indented, and I just was, oh my gosh, it was horrifying. I hate even thinking about it because it gives me PTSD. But we bathed it or cleansed it, and then the next day, luckily I had an appointment, and they said, just let him sleep, obviously, without, it was so nice to let him sleep without a cast, because that was the other thing. They said, you need to keep him, do I have it here, elevated at night when you put him to bed for a nap. His foot needs to be elevated. So I got this little mat where he would put his head here and his legs, instead of the opposite where you'd put your head on the pillow and your legs here. I'd put his head here and his legs here, so they would be elevated because there was so much pressure. So the next day I went to the doctor, and I was like, there's no way they're going to cast this again. And she's like, no, let's bathe him, and then we're going to cast him because his foot will be more protected in the cast than out. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But she was right. And she put Silvadene medicine on it, which was burn cream, essentially. So she put that on and then put the cast on, and I was just dying watching him scream. And but then at least I knew it was going to be on there for a good, was it at that point, was it 2 more weeks? I can't remember, but yeah, it was 1 week. And then we changed it up again, got another cast, and it had healed, substantially by the next week. So we just continued on, and then he ended up getting a tenotomy, which is when they clip I'm like using my hands instead of my feet, but they clip the Achilles tendon, and somehow that elongates the tendon. It elongates so that it's not so short and contracted, so that it can have more flexion. Something like this. I'm not a doctor, and that's just kind of what I remember, but they do it with like 99% of clubfoot babies. Some of them don't need it, but he did. And they just snip something in the back of their Achilles, and then it bleeds, and then they, put pressure on it and wrap it, and then they keep that cast on for 3 weeks. And in fact, I kind of dealt with a bilateral clubfoot baby because they ended up casting both of his feet that last month, just because the other foot was in a kidney-shaped foot. It was kidney-shaped, but you could bend it. But they wanted both feet to be totally equal and not like one bent more than the other. So once the casting process is done, you get something called boots and bar. And there are 2 of them. It was created by Dr. Ponsetti. I can't remember where he trained, but it was done long ago, kind of as an experiment, where they would put these clubfoot kids in braces at night, kind of like a retainer for your teeth, but it would keep your feet straight, after they had been straightened by the cast every week, because it would make your foot, every week they'd twist a little bit more, and just keep turning it until it was straight week by week. And then after that, you get what's called the boots and bar, and this was the bar. I did not get the Ponsetti bar. I got the Dobbs bar. The Ponsetti bar is just totally straight across. This Dobbs bar would bend like this. So I was so grateful to get the Dobbs, because it gave Nico a little bit more movement whereas the Poncetti was just straight. It didn't move. It would just go like this. But this one gave him the ability to have a little bit more flexibility and being able to move his feet and crawl, quite frankly. But look how cute this teeny tiny little boot is. They are so cute. You can still see some dirt in it. Oh my goodness. Look at the size difference. Every checkup, we would switch his boot. So this was like his first boot. So cute. And then this was the boot he ended up with. And I'm telling you, learning how to tie these, it doesn't look like it's hard. Oh, well, just tie the laces. Well, you have to make sure that there is no wrinkles in the sock. You have to make sure that nothing is chafing the skin, because this skin is delicate and fragile and has been in a cast for weeks and weeks, and that skin has like never breathed air. And so make sure that the heel is within this hole and that you can see it, because if you can't see it, that means the heel is up here and it will chafe and burn and cause blisters again. And make sure that there's no wrinkles in this leather. But then the leather was really tough until it worked. You got it, worked in. It's kind of like a point shoe. You have to bend it and make sure that it wasn't so hard that took it, or like a belt or a leather jacket, like it's hard at first. So then you'd have to, work it out a little bit and massage it and stretch it so that it wasn't so hard to work with, all the while trying to make sure that they don't get blisters from any kind of wrinkle at all. And it was terrifying. And